Hello, my beautiful soul. Welcome back. Today we are diving into one of the amazing teachings by Neville Goddard related to the art of being. And this is something I've practiced in my own life so many times. It's very deeply connected to the processes I teach my students and even to like quantum jumping in its own way, which is why I love all of this stuff and how interconnected it is. But I want to share about the power of who we are being and therefore what we are creating. And this is from, I was just listening to a Neville Goddard audiobook. I think it's like the creative art of imagination, or it's named something like that. It has to do with the imagination though, and the power of how we project our I am consciousness into the world. So whether you are a Neville Goddard fan or whether you are new to some of his teachings, the power and the presence that each of us have as fractals of the divine creator and fractals of the I am, right? It's in religious teachings, and I don't follow religion, so don't quote me on it. But it's like famous quotes of I am that I am. And the power in this sentence or this statement is the acknowledgement that literally we are what we say we are, what we think we are, what we believe we are, what we embody that we are. So when we look at the art of being, and I'm going to throw out a few examples here, we end up creating more and more of that which we believe we are. So an example with money, when I was going through my first ever experience with debt, like I had just maxed out a credit card for like $18,000. I was living away in Australia with a friend. I was struggling to get my business going, and I tried to jump from 0 to 100 immediately because that's what your girl does, is instead of like patiently following the steps, I'm already thinking 10 steps down the line, and I try to do that now. So point being is that I overinvested money I didn't have. I had extra credit cards to help me survive off of. But I was at this tipping point where I had just made a payment to someone who was helping run my business, and I had like $25 that's all I had to my name, and no room on credit cards to buy my groceries anymore, which is what I had been doing. No money to pay for my rent, no money to pay my employees. Like, it was a really stressful moment. And at that time, you can probably imagine, I felt very much in lack. I felt like in debt because I was. My mindset around everything was very negative and heavy. And it was really hard for me to feel abundant or to feel like I had access to abundance in that state of being. So the story that my consciousness was telling became even more influenced by what my 3D reality was reflecting, right? Because it was reflecting debt to me. But then those two things reinforced one another. And so I was basically this walking, talking kind of like energetic beacon for debt. And I kept telling myself that story of like, I'm struggling right now. I have no money. I'm poor. I'm this, I'm that. And that energy, that frequency was not only being sent out to the universe and to like the quantum field to bring more of a vibrational match for what I said I am, but it was also limiting me in each moment by making me feel heavier and more stuck and more depressed too. And so it was hard for me to see potentials for abundance or see the ways that I could get out. And so I had this kind of mini time period in that state of being where that was who I thought I was. That was the identity I was living in, right? And the power of my I am was being used for negative. It was being used to speak myself downward even further and further. And that's what I ended up creating. I ended up creating more financial struggles until I started to snap out of it. And I want to acknowledge, for anyone who's in that situation now or has been in that situation, of course, it is probably one of the most challenging things when you're under a weight of debt. And I experienced this a few years later when I was like over $100,000 in debt. So it was suddenly a lot more than what had felt like my rock bottom in Australia. When you're under something like that, of course, it's very challenging to tell yourself, I'm abundant, I'm rich, right? You feel delusional because your logical mind is like, Kara, actually, you're not. Like, if we look at anything here, you're in the negatives, right? But from the creative standpoint and what Neville Goddard gets into, when we can shift our vibration, when we can shift our point of attraction, when we can shift what we are focusing on to something more positive, and I'm going to give you a trick for this in a second, but when we do that, we immediately open ourselves up to the desired reality having space to come in. So every single day, as I was saying, like, I'm in debt, I'm poor, I'm struggling, like, I can't buy groceries, I'm going to be back in my mom's basement, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Imagine it like God, Source, the all-knowing, all-loving Creator, who has given me the power as a conscious being to create from the Creator's power, right? I've been gifted this beautiful opportunity to use that to create on the planet. And here I am talking it downwards, and I'm digging myself deeper and deeper into a hole of despair and quite literally at that time, a deeper pit of debt, right? I was creating even more financial burden because I was so attached to the negative stories. So I had this tipping point because I had, like I said, very little money. I went and I spent my last $25 on groceries. I remember like the first time my card got declined for insufficient funds. I'd never experienced that before. So that was like a mini kind of traumatic moment of like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And I was like, I need to get out of this place. And I do believe in energy. I do believe we live in an abundant universe. I do believe that I have a skill set and I have offers and I have ways that I can help people in exchange for finances. So I started to bring in what I like to call bridging beliefs. Because if I had gone from saying, I'm poor, I'm this, I'm that, to I'm rich, I'm a millionaire, I'm blah, 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 my mind wouldn't have believed it. My subconscious wouldn't have believed it. Literally, like, no cells in my body would have probably believed it. It didn't resonate because it was too far of a stretch for me. So to jump into suddenly being a millionaire didn't resonate. It wasn't possible. It wasn't available to me. So I put in these bridging beliefs, which was like, I know that money is available to me. I believe that money can come in unexpected ways. I know I have things that I can offer. I'm open to money showing up to support me. I would love to believe that money is actually a good friend and it wants to help me in exchange for me helping someone else through my business, right? I had to start with these little micro beliefs or like baby step beliefs that were believable. Like I said, if I just jumped to saying, I'm a millionaire and money's flowing to me all the time, every day, nothing in me would have believed that because I had literally years of proof of the opposite. And I was very much still stuck in the beingness of, oh no, I put money out and money goes out and money goes out, but it never comes in. So I had to start with those little steps to shift it. And I took different actions to align myself to feel better each day. I went for walks to this really wealthy area of the neighborhood, and I just listened to positive things or my happy music, stuff that lifted me up. And I allowed myself to go, one day I'm going to have a house like this. One day I'll be, living in abundance. I am going to have the successful business, have the money goals, have my cards paid off, right? I'm not saying I have it now because I wouldn't have believed that, but I wanted to start tapping into the energy of what that would be like because I knew it was a possible reality and I knew it was what I desired. So I started to make those baby steps to align with it, and I was shocked by the ways that money did start coming in unexpected ways. Suddenly I had like a $2,000 sale here and different unexpected things coming back elsewhere and contracts canceling. And so then I was saving money and like these different things that I personally don't believe would have happened if I had stayed in the beingness of I am poor, I am struggling, I'm a failure. So when Neville Goddard talks about the power of the I am and the art of being your desired reality, it's very much about tapping into the frequency as well as taking the aligned steps of what that version of you would be doing. This is so much of what I have inside my free quantum healing hypnosis activation for the future self and your future reality, because we're tapping into your desired day or like your dream day. You're seeing the things that you have, the people you're surrounded by, the life that you're living. You're feeling the frequency of it, anchoring it in and normalizing it so that your subconscious starts to really absorb that that's already who you are. And then when you come back into the waking world, the real 3D world, you're able to act from that place and show up from a different, higher vibrational state of being. So very much like what I was doing at that time, the money wasn't physically there yet, but I was like, if I had the money, or since I'm really in a full trust of like, God's going to provide and show me that this works, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm not going to be trying to work harder from this place. I'm going to be working the way I would be if money were already in my bank. No, I wasn't going out and spending a ton of money on food and like healthy things that I would have if I were already abundant because I didn't have the money, but I was doing the other things that I could do that didn't require money in the bank, such as taking the time to go for walks, to go to the beach, to imagine the abundance coming in, to feel into the beautiful things I would do with money and the ways it would benefit everyone, and to walk through the wealthy neighborhoods and allow myself to think about how someday I would have my own house and I wouldn't be struggling to pay for rent or food, and I'd have so much overflow, right? And this is really how we can create major quantum leaps, because as long as we're staying stuck and we're really strongly identifying with our current moment reality, then that is all we continue to create. It's like the power of your I am is just continuing to loop and loop and loop and create more of the same, more of what you don't want. So when you shift your I am presence to I am healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm this, I'm that, I'm loved, I'm lovable, I'm worthy, I'm surrounded by amazing people, I have, XYZ desire that hasn't been in my life for years, but I really want it. When you start to identify with already having it, you set off powerful waves of motion energetically that will align it with you. And it will clear out the things that aren't a match. You'll have to do some probably energetic and emotional and even physical cleanup to make space for it. But then you will start to see these things come in because they have to come in by law. When you are embodying that state, whatever is a match for that version of you must come in. It must come to fruition. So I hope this makes sense. I hope this is landing. And if you want extra support doing this, I'm going to drop the link for my free Future Self Quantum Healing Hypnosis Activation. This is something I use all the time, and it's helped me even when I wanted to have a best-selling book and be like a best-selling author. I tapped into the I am and the being, right? Neville Goddard's The Art of Being, instead of being over here like, oh, I'm not a published author, I don't have any books, I don't have this, I don't even know who will publish it, blah, 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 woe is me. Like, that's kind of where I was. But then I thought, no, if I'm wanting to jump into that reality, how would I be acting? Well, I need to have a book ready, so I guess I better start writing the book now, knowing and trusting full well that whenever and however it's meant to be published, that will arise, that will show up in my life through law of attraction, through law of assumption, through, just the quantum particle theory and everything being a match, that it has to show up. So I used this future self quantum healing hypnosis, as well as a ton of my other hypnosis activations that I have in different bundles and courses for you if you'd like. I use those things to reprogram my subconscious, to see myself as already having those things, to clear out the beliefs or blocks that were telling me I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't ready yet, or it wasn't possible for me, and to really shift my state of being into alignment with what I wanted. And then all of a sudden, I was working on my book in Scotland. I had put everything on hold because I thought, no, if this is what I'm doing full time, I'll be financially provided for, I can do it. And suddenly I had an opportunity to co-write a book. It hit number 1, it was featured in Forbes. Like, all of this new reality came into play without me knowing how, simply because I understood the art of being and being it now. So this is my recommendation to you. As I said, I've got incredible resources linked down below to assist you more, or you can just take everything you've heard today and really apply it, really tap into who is it I want to be, how would they be thinking? The millionaire version of me wouldn't be thinking over and over again, I'm poor, I'm in debt, I'm this, I'm bad with money, right? I'm not deserving. No, the version of me who already was living in incredible abundance would be grateful each day. She'd be happy. She'd be feeling free and relaxed every time she paid something on her credit card. She wouldn't be like terrified and constricting and afraid that it's going to say insufficient funds. So I needed to wipe out the identification as well as the emotions and energy and like physical response that my body and my nervous system had around money, in order to feel safer and feel more free of like, no, actually, this is how it gets to work for me. This is how I operate now. And I trust that with every transaction, tenfold is coming back into my life. Now, I'm not a millionaire yet, and I haven't fully jumped into that reality, but I understand on the base level and the energetic level what needs to go, what is not aligned, and how to clear things out and continue reprogramming myself for more, to continue stepping into that new being and taking the different actions to get my reality lined up exactly the way that I want it to look moving forward, and exactly the way that it would look if I already had the things. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you use this to start stepping into a new identity and really remembering the power you have and the power of your I am and what you are proclaiming behind that. Remember to only use it to uplift yourself and others, to uplift the reality and the possibilities, and don't speak it downwards to create more of what you don't want, because unfortunately we have that ability of free will to use God's power in whatever way we desire. So use it to speak upwards and be blown away by what you end up creating and how your reality starts to look. So I'm sending you tons of love, and I will be back again soon. And feel free to come back and share, conscious creation stories in the comments, or send me a message on Instagram. Let me know how this resonates or what came through for you after. And I am celebrating you and all you're here to do and create and experience. And I will talk to you again soon.